Hello YouTubers, Rob here. I've already done 2 videos on this, but I don't think you can have enough videos, to be honest, on these things. Drive you mental. Die, King Keg, die! This is the top tap, okay? And I've been fighting this thing for months now to actually hold pressure. Whether that is just hearing it hissing out or just coming to beer to find it, you push the little tap down here and it comes out with very little gusto and no head, and you just end up with flat beer that's not as good as bottles. So I've made some changes to mine. I've pimped it somewhat, read a lot of forums and posts and looked at other people's videos, and I just wanted to give something back to the community, maybe help you with your problems with this top tap king keg. It needn't be as evil as everyone reports, at least I don't believe. I've got a few extras for it. This I would highly recommend getting one. I've put a Schrader valve on mine as well. I'd recommend that, but a bit more on that later. You don't have to do that. I'll try and do this video without really including that too much, although I will explain some of the benefits of why you might want to. So this is a little pressure gauge here. It just pings off, and then I can test my pressures using that. But anyway, you likely haven't got that. You've just got this cap, and I'm going to work from basically the top of the keg down in terms of problems you may face. First of all, this is the 8-gram adapter there for putting your CO2 bulbs into, okay? And if you've got air coming out of here, you'll know this, by the way, you get some washing up liquid, a little bit of water, not much water, put it in a beaker like that, put your hand over it, shake it like mad, and get it a load of really frothy. Pour off most of the excess water, and then just pour all the bubbles all over the thing, yeah, at the taps here, over the tops of the valves, around the seals, and all that kind of stuff. You'll see if there's any leaks. They'll just basically make the bubbles go bigger and pop, bigger and pop. You can use Startone as well, I think, but a bit of washing up liquid does the job, and then wash it off afterwards. So yeah, if you're finding that this is slow little, either you're putting the gas in and it's coming straight back out again full force, or it's just slowly dripping from there, it's because of the internal rubber. So you need to get a new rubber kit. Now, you may have just bought your king keg and thinking, well, I don't need a new rubber kit, it's got a new one on. The fact is that might have been a year since manufacture, so it's probably stretched. The rubber kit's here. This is a little purple thing. You can see I've got a cable tie around mine, which is my get round for having to replace it. But if you don't want to use the cable tie method, then you just need to get a rubber replacement kit. They come with this little rubber at the bottom, and also the rubber that's held inside this valve here. You can get 10 of them or so for about £5, so it's not the end of the world. Or you can just tie a cable tie at the bottom, like I've done. I've done previous videos on this, so I'm not going to go on about it too much, just Google other videos really. So yeah, if it's coming out of here, you know it's because of that little rubber there. There's a hole underneath that rubber, and it lets the gas in, but it's then not closing enough to let the gas stay in. So yeah, that's where that needs replacing. If you're getting gas coming out of, I use my pen, the sides here and here, then chances are it's this black washer underneath the main valve that needs to be just moved around a little bit. Put a tiny bit of Vaseline underneath it, smear it around, not much, re-seal it, seal it fairly tight, and that should resolve that problem. Make sure that washer's on properly. Yep, that's what you might see if you're seeing it from there and there. If you're seeing it coming out of the hole, the normal pressure release valve hole, this is what might be causing it to hold pressure but then drop over a few days and start serving flat beer. It's because the rubber inside here is essentially loosened and lost its elastic. Again, that happens over time. Every 4 to 6 months you're supposed to replace that. I haven't done. I've just blocked mine up completely using some insulating tape. I've done a video on that, so I won't talk about that too much either. Just look at my other videos and you'll see how to bypass that. I'd only bypass that though, however, if you've got a Schrader valve on. The other day I found, lucky me, my Schrader valve was also leaking air out, because that's got a little nipple there, and that nipple will turn inside. You can just about make out it's got some kind of, like it sits in a flat piece of base thing. You need to tighten that. You get some nail scissors and just twist the little section inside there with the nail scissors round to tighten them. That'll tighten that, and that'll stop that from hissing and releasing pressure. Put the cap back on, or don't, it's up to you really. Making sure you've got good firm seals. These are reasonably tight, a bit more than hand tight. Go with a wrench, not over tight. Making sure that you've put a little bit of Vaseline as well between the washer and the cap there. Moving on to the cap then, you've got the rubber O-ring inside. You can buy better ones from this, from Ballyhoo. They'll sell you kind of like a square-based one. That one's a rounded one. They'll sell you, it's round obviously, but it's got a square top to it. They apparently seal a bit better than these. Make sure it's in, put it in with your thumbs, move it all around, a little thin smear of Vaseline, and the same around the threads as well. Don't go crazy. And then just pop it on. Give it a good twist turn, make sure it's turned on nicely. And then I use the wrench device just to give it that extra turn, tighter than hand tight. So as tight as I can hand tight, plus a tiny bit extra, and that certainly gets it nice and tight. If you've still got leaking air through here, it might be because you've actually got a fault with the manufacturer. Sometimes people say to shave them down here or add PTF tape, but if that's the case, even if you've done all of that and you still get leaking out the lid, I'll just send it back and get another one sent out to you. The tap itself, I've done a video on really how to get that nice and tight. Just turn it around hand tight as best you can with the internal nut, and then just turn it a quarter turn. I've pretty much wedged this on now. It won't really come off, and I've not got enough strength in my hands to pull it off, to clean it. So luckily my Schrader valve allows me to pressurise the keg and test for leaks with just a normal foot pump. So I can put normal oxygen into it and then force cleaning fluid and sanitizer through it using the Schrader valve. Let's go inside now. Where are we? So yes, making sure that tube is nicely on the teat. A bit of Vaseline. I'm not sure if you should Vaseline actually. I would avoid doing that. Don't do that necessarily until if you feel you need to. I can only imagine that making it even more slippery and going to come off. So I wouldn't Vaseline that one. I'll just keep twist turning it until it's on nice and firmly. That tube going into the back of the tap there. And then this is the flotation device. This rubber's quite hard to begin with, which is a complaint. That should soften up. This can come out here, so you just got to poke it back through again, twisting it as you do. You can drill another hole in there. I'm going to go and do that at some point, just to make it sit a bit lower in the water and stop it having to serve a lot of your CO2 out at the same time as your beer. So I've saw that as a tip on a website. I'm going to do that. Drill another hole in there, make it sit a bit lower. That's pretty much it. In terms of tightening everything, obviously with the taps, make sure the O-ring's on the outside, not the inside. Hopefully that allows you to understand exactly what's going on and the common areas and the problems you might see and how to fix them. By all means, look at my bypass video, so you never have to really replace that or the internal rubber ever again. Saves you buying replacement parts. And it also explains how to fit one of these little Schrader valves. Very, very simple. The reason why you might want to use a Schrader valve is to obviously force pressurise it. So just check for gaps, cover everything in bubbles, pump it up with a foot pump. Is it sealing? Yes. Everything's fine? Yes. Good. Okay, you're good to release it. The core materials are all now tight and working, apart from the lid obviously. And you can obviously pressurise it, then force cleaning fluid through, so it's good for that. And it's also good just for releasing pressure at the end if you want to clean it all out. You don't have to tip it upside down, you can just let the pressure go. And if you do the forced bypass method, so you're basically bypassing this, pressure is going to build up to rather uncontrollable levels. You do need to manually vent that as well during its first few days of secondary fermentation, just to make sure it doesn't go over 10 psi. So I hope that's helped. I'll stop rambling now, and happy brewing with the King Keg Top Tap. It is doable.